Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as Michael Olise declares his preference to join Manchester United over Chelsea. Also, in the Telegraph, they're talking about Ineos's managerial three-man shortlist if they decide to remove Erik ten Hag. Some interesting names on there. We'll also be talking about this Maybury fallout at Sevilla. Is it more temperamental issues or has it been blown out of proportion? Onana has been benched again for Cameroon, but he could be heading home tomorrow because they're losing. And also, a few people are asking me about some news around Onana at Everton and whether United are about to buy him. Well, it's not exclusive. I mean, Sam spoke about this on the United Stand about 2 months ago. So we can talk about that as well. So lots to get into. Rashford news, Marks has been not aware of any. So yeah, nothing about that. Not aware of any news on that. So we won't be talking about that. And it's, you know what, it's nice to be live on a Saturday night. I'm not normally live on a Saturday night. So because I'm normally on Talk Sport and stuff. So it's nice to be live with you on a Saturday night. And certainly lots to talk about. We're going to start off with Ladios says if Onana heads home tomorrow, he might head straight to Newport. Don't let him in. Bienda's playing. Yeah, Bienda's playing. But look, we're going to start off with this story that came out this morning, and effectively it's coming from Football London, which, if you don't know what they're all about, it's comprehensive coverage of every football club in London. Michael Olise prefers a move to Manchester United over Chelsea. The player is a lifelong United fan and is aware of interest from both clubs. Now remember, Olise last year very nearly, well, apparently very nearly, signed for Chelsea and then ended up signing a new contract at Crystal Palace. There's a release clause there. He's 22. He's only just turned 22. He's 22 in December. So, look, young player, exciting player, and apparently wants to come to Manchester United. Now, I don't know about, apparently there's some news on The Athletic about Rashford, which we'll talk about in a moment. Okay, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, I'll come back to that. I'm not the sort of person that, you know, avoids it because it doesn't suit what I said last night. I said if any evidence comes from anywhere to the contrary, then I would bury that person for it. But let me just finish this on Michael Olise and then we'll get into the Rashford stuff because apparently, and I've not read it yet, The Athletic is saying they've got confirmation he is in the nightclub on Thursday night, which is just not great. And it's from Laurie Whitwell as well. Okay. I might need to just change this whole story. Let me just, I'm not going to beat about the bush on this one because obviously I was very passionate last night about a witch hunt based on the information we had last night. And of course, I know what will happen, and I said it last night. If it comes out that he was in the club on Thursday night, then people will go, ha, 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 I told you so. I will still stay what I said. Last night, the information I was getting, and it was even in the Daily Mail from Chris Wheeler, and even the club said it, they understood that he was there on Wednesday night. If it comes out he's there on Thursday night, you know, I've protected him, the club's protected him, other journalists have protected him, and, you know, I was led to believe it was Wednesday night. And I said last night, if it comes out on Thursday night, by all means, do what you were doing last night. But I will always try and see the good in people, and I was try and give them the benefit of the doubt. So if it's come out differently, okay. So Laurie Whitwell, Marcus Rashford went out in Belfast the night before reporting himself as too ill to attend Manchester United training on Friday. He missed Manchester United training hours after attending Belfast nightclub. Okay, well, there you go. I mean, I can't, I'm sure we're going to get a little bit more on this, but, yeah, I mean, look, I would still, you know, I still don't want to believe the bad. I still don't want to believe it, but, they've got three journalists talking about this, Laurie Whitwell, Critchley and Dan Sheldon. So it's not good. It's not good at all. And I would say that, well, I think that it's just not acceptable, is it? I mean, I'm waiting for a little bit more information here, but it ain't acceptable. It's not acceptable. We need a little bit more on this, and I'm just skirting around for direct quotes, which I'm sure will come out. But yeah, this ain't good enough. It's not good enough by a long way, is it? Marcus Rashford was in a Belfast nightclub hours before reporting himself as too ill to train on Friday morning. If you're in a nightclub in Belfast on Thursday night, you're not going to be training on Friday. So, you know, it's not acceptable. I actually feel like a mug. I actually feel a little bit like a mug, and I'm sure everybody who was with me last night saying we can't hang somebody out to dry when we're being told it was Wednesday night. I don't have a problem with them being out on a Wednesday night. No problem at all. It's a night off. Thursday night in Belfast, when you're meant to be training for Man United on a Friday, I don't know what to say. I genuinely don't know what to say. And Roger says, will you always find a way to defend Bruno and Rashford? Can I just say, this is the United Stand. If you don't want to be here, you just click off and go and watch Gladiators. If you don't enjoy being here, go. I've explained to you what I said last night. I have to say I was wrong, but not in the sense that you can go ha-ha, because you couldn't show me the evidence. You were just going, sell him, sell him, sell him. I was being told last night that the club believed he was out on Wednesday night. There was journalists saying he was out on Wednesday night. There was rumours it was Thursday night, but the club believed it was Wednesday night. Can we just look? If you want to get one up on me, I couldn't give a shit. It doesn't bother me. But the people I feel bad for here are Manchester United Football Club, because they basically were saying last night they believe he was out Wednesday night. So they look stupid. They look weak. They look mugged off, and it's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. If it's true about Rashford, then he needs to be made an example of. This player power crap needs to be put to bed once and for all. Seal, thank you very much for your super chat. Jordan says, Mark, hashtag Sancho Bridge, change start time to 8:15, might be on time. How can you moan about Jaden? Jordan's gifted a membership. We need to appoint a sporting directly quickly so Liverpool don't get in ahead of us, says Giles. We've checked the Laurie Whitwell tweet, Dan and Jordan Hall. I mean, look, tell me what you think. I mean, some of you were very angry last night. The evidence wasn't there, but there you go. But yeah, it's not great. Yeah. It's not great at all. I think that what we've got here is a situation where, look, I don't even want to be having this conversation. I know some of you revel in it, but I just don't. I'm changing the title here. You'll see it change, and I actually had people last night in the chat saying you're scared of Rashford. You're scared of Rashford's PR. No, I ain't scared of anybody at Manchester United. I just see the situation for what it is. He's our best paid player. He's meant to be our best player, and he's already had this happen to him this season. I can't remember. Was it after the Man City game he was out? It's already happened, and for it to happen again, and also, I mean, look, last season he was late for a game, wasn't he? But I just don't know what to say, because we've got no money in the January transfer window. And, I've heard people say he didn't like the way Sancho was treated. I mean, I don't care. I don't care who you are as a player. I don't care who's your mate in the dressing room. I don't care whether you like the manager. I don't care whether you think you're treated badly by the fans. None of that's actually relevant. You play for Manchester United. Just go on YouTube and have a look at the story of Man United. Understand the privileged position you're in, and understand the decades of players that have set the path and standard for what you're meant to do with that shirt. And anybody that can't be asked to turn up for training, or anybody that can't be asked to put a shift in, has to be shown the door. It's as simple as that. It's happened for years. I saw a little clip from Nicky Butt the other day, doing an interview. I think it was in the Bishop's Blaze. And he was talking about Marcus Rashford and saying, look, I'm really loyal to the people I like, and, I'll stick up for Marcus no matter what. Well, that's absolutely fantastic, Nicky. And I wouldn't expect anything different from Nicky Butt. But loyalty can, love is blind. And, maybe if this was Anthony Martial, or Paul Pogba or Jadon Sancho, there's been a very different reaction to this. This is just not acceptable. Now, I choose to see the good in this. Best case scenario, he's in Belfast, he's gone to a nightclub, and he's drinking water. But why are you out in Belfast on Thursday night when you've got training for Man United on Friday morning? You know, they don't do flights from Belfast to Manchester after midnight. So you're getting an early morning flight. You're never making training. What's the decision making here? We need to understand what the story is. Why are you out on Thursday night in a Belfast nightclub? You're going to get photoed. You're going to get videoed. I've heard of stuff that granted, I've heard this and I'll share it with you. I've heard there are certain nightclubs in Manchester and London where the public have to hand their phones in. I don't do that sort of thing anymore. But I've heard that there are certain nightclubs in London and Manchester where you have to hand your phone in. I would never hand my phone into any fucking pub or club for a start. That's ridiculous, never happening. But apparently there are some pubs and clubs, not pubs, but clubs where you hand your phone in. You know why you hand your phone in? Because they don't want you taking pictures and videos of the people in there. So I don't know that I don't know what's going on here, it's because it's Goob says you're losing your edge in fear of media relation, Mark, losing your balls, mate. Please go and watch whatever else is on a Saturday night. You know, I don't normally even do a Saturday night show. I'm the person that sat here for years and called the problems out at Man United. I'm the one who's had to take the flak for that. I'm the one that, as this community's presenter, you know, isn't afraid to say the things. And I've done it. And you know I've done it for years. I don't appreciate being called out for something that I've proven year after year that I'm not. And if you think that, I'd rather you got your coat and left. Because there's no change from me, buddy. None at all. I am always going to call it out. This season I've called it out. I will always call it out. But I can't rant and rave about a player I actually don't dislike because people think I dislike them. I'm just massively disappointed. Massively disappointed. You know, I look at the way Anthony Martial's been treated by this fan base and by ex-players. And I look at the way Martial's been treated. And the only difference is one's Manc born and bred. I think those two players, 5 years ago, I said are going to dominate the Premier League for a decade. And neither of them have, for different reasons. And I don't really understand it. I don't really understand it. I don't know where to put the blame. I don't know whether it's managers, clubs, the players, the people around them. Two very different stories who've basically just pissed their talent up the wall. And I don't get it. I don't get at all. I'm going to read some of the quotes out. Jordan's just gifted 10 memberships. I don't get at all why. There's got to be an explanation. Can somebody offer me an explanation? I know there's a lot of angry people in the chat and I get it. But can somebody offer me an explanation why a Manchester United player is in a different country, granted it's only half an hour on a plane, is in a different country the night before training in a nightclub? Why? Why is that happening? You know, I'm not saying we're going to lose to Newport tomorrow, but if we did, because Rashford went out on Thursday night and can't play tomorrow, you know, I don't understand this. I don't understand this. I really can't. Tobias says, Rashford for a long time showed a lack of performance and attitude. His mentality is not where it needs to be. Lack of character, time to sell, says Tobias. Vinay says, like you, I wanted to believe Rashford was out on Wednesday night, but as reported, he did go out Thursday. He needs to be penalised heavily, says Vinay. Well, I agree. You know, without ranting and raving, I completely agree. Beckham got kicked out of the club when his head was twisted by sponsorship deals, says Uncapped, and he gave 10 times more than Rashford. If there's concrete proof, the club should deal with him in a similar manner. Well, you know, this is the problem here. This is the problem here. You want a hard line? You want a hard line? You want a hard line? I'll give you a hard line. If Jadon Sancho is late for training and goes on Twitter and says Erik ten Hag's wrong about my attitude in training and doesn't play for the club for 3 months, tell me how a player that's been warned once about being out in clubs misses training because he's in a different country in a club. Tell me why that player isn't going to get treated any differently to Jadon Sancho. And that's the mic drop, isn't it? And that's the challenge that United have got. And can I just say this as well? A lot of you say Erik ten Hag out. A lot of you say Erik ten Hag out. I've never known a manager in their first 18 months deal with so many different issues. And, again, I go back to this interview with Nicky Butt, and I think he'd had a couple of drinks, and I like Nicky Butt, and he's going, in fairness to Marcus, he's surrounded by shit in that dressing room. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Marcus Rashford cannot blame the dressing room for his drop-off in form. We always talk about the mirrors and look in the mirror. And I don't know, it just seems to be falling apart. It seems to be getting worse. Mads says, rash scrutiny equals managers losing dressing room reports, says Mads. A great show as always, love the show. I'll say again, Rashford has the brain of a 15-year-old boy. His decision always bites him in the backside, says Lee. I just cannot, I still, and people are going to go, Mark, you're being an idiot. All right, I'm probably being an idiot. And I don't think I'm an idiot. But I still think there's got to be an explanation. I mean, it's Thursday night. If he's out on a Thursday night, I've seen him on a video on somebody's phone following him into a club, and I've got pictures of him in the bar in the club. Like, has he been given permission by the club? I almost think, has he been given permission by the club? But then the club came out yesterday and said they believe he was out Wednesday night. And is it sabotage? Or is it player power? Or is it I don't give a shit? I mean, what is it? Is Ten Hag trying to get something? We've been saying for weeks and months, this is not Marcus Rashford. He's not tracking back. He's not really engaged. He's not playing that well. Is there actually a flip side to this story that actually Ten Hag knows all this and is just trying desperately to get something out of a player that doesn't want to give? Maybe Ten Hag knows all this and he's just trying to get something out of him. I don't get it. Dan John says, apologies for last night, Mark. We want the same thing, United to be great again, but how are we meant to be good if this is our supposed start player, says Dan. Going out the night before training or even a match is purely unprofessional, so he needs to pay a price, says Tony. Rashford tried to pull the wool over the club eyes and the press eyes, but a lot of the time, the truth comes out eventually. I'm done with him. Get out, says Jack. Well, I have to applaud The Athletic. And I have to applaud Laurie Whitwell because Laurie is certainly a journalist that is within the Man United inner circle. There's a few like that. James Ducker, Laurie Whitwell, Simon Stone. And, I don't know Laurie personally, but I do know that he would not ever want to scrutinise or jeopardise his relationship with the club on something that wasn't credible. So say what you like about journalists around Man United, and sometimes they can be quite nauseatingly PR, but this is an expose on United's best paid player from a journalist that I know wouldn't do it unless he was 100% sure. So, Chris Lockett, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Marvin says, is Ten Hag going to force him to publicly apologise like Sancho? Same standard should be applied. It has to. But the problem is, even if Rashford comes out and says I shouldn't have done it, do you take the apology or do you actually go, hold on a minute, it's not the first time, and also you're telling me you genuinely think it's an apologisable mistake to go out training the day before in a different country? There's something fundamentally wrong here. I don't think an apology is going to work anymore. I think there's fundamentally something wrong. Is Marcus Rashford in a bad place mentally? Does Marcus Rashford need a move? Does Marcus Rashford need time out? I mean, it's almost, you're looking at it and you're going, it doesn't actually make any sense. He was brilliant last season. He's been given the super contract. He's been given the star status of the club. Yeah, we're not doing that well this season. Yeah, he's not doing that well this season, but nobody's doing well this season. Like, what is it that has unsettled the player? Has he got other things going on that, you just don't know in the modern game. You just do not know. I bet my firstborn that he thinks he's untouchable and immune to criticism. I don't believe there is anything that can be said to defend him right now, says Jack. He could easily come out on social media and explain what really happened if it's false. Why let this blow up if the fan base is true, says Tobias. It's time to sell Rashford. Actions on and off the pitch don't deserve 300k a week. Jordan Hall's just gifted 5 memberships. Levi says, I think we've all been fooled by Rashford for a long time. He's just smart enough to pretend he's on board and working hard. He's Mr. PR and his team just gets him to act like he's not a problem. Sheriff says, hello Mark, if we're speaking justice, Rashford has to be punished and penalised as harsh as Sancho. We should expect him to play or start. We shouldn't expect him to play or start anytime soon, says Sheriff. Has gifted a membership. Sell Rashford and Sancho and buy 4 new players, says Keel. Are we finally opening our eyes about Rashford? Stop being afraid of him. He's not the player you think he is, says Paulo. I'm bored of this. I'm afraid of him. I don't, you know, on Twitter, apparently I hate him. On here, I'm up his arse. The reality is, it's a player I like. I want to see the good in him. I'm stunned by this. I'm disappointed by this. And I agree with a lot of what people are saying in relation to there has to be consequences because it's just not acceptable. It's damaging Manchester United. But look, I've said this a long time. I've said this to you a long time. Whether I like it or whether you like it, it matters not. Marcus Rashford is a brand. That's, you know, he's probably the biggest brand player in the club. That doesn't mean he's not a footballer, but he's also a brand. And, you know, there have been people over the years that are very scared of that brand. Not us. I don't know where you think that's coming from. I mean, we've been called out by Rashford on Twitter a few months ago. And, you know, I went on TalkSport. I went on here and I said, bullshit, we haven't done anything wrong. So I'm not scared of that brand, but some people are. You know, there are certain journalists like Henry Winter who always backs Marcus Rashford. So I don't know what the relationship is there. But what I've noticed is you can be the best brand in the world. We've all seen brands fall apart because of, you know, you can lose track as a brand. You can think you're untouchable as a brand, and we've seen it. We've seen brands over the last few years that you think, well, household names, they're untouchable, and it all goes to shit. You know, look at the Post Office recently in the UK. I mean, their name is shit because of the way they've done. So you're never untouchable. And I've been saying for weeks now, whether they want to take it on board or not, I talk to United fans every single day, on air and off air, and the Rashford brand identity at Manchester United has been damaged for a long time. You know, you can pretty much speak to any Man United fan at the moment, and they're probably, I wouldn't say 50-50 yet, but I think for every 10 fan you talk to, 3 or 4 of them aren't really positive about Rashford at the moment. So, you know, I don't think there's wiggle room here to just, you know, I'm Marcus Rashford, the brand, and I'm sorry. I think it's been going wrong for a very, very long. It's been going wrong for a very, very long time. And I'm you know, the Jurgen Klopp resignation shocked me yesterday, but this is just incredible. And look, of course, if you want him to be sold, there will be clubs out there that want to buy him. Of course, there will, but. You know, at the end of the day, I have to come back to recruitments. I have to come back to contract renewals. We've spent many years saying, why did Phil Jones get a massive contract when he'd been injured for 5 years before it? The Martial contract's embarrassing us at the moment. You know, we said it in the summer. Some of us said in the summer, it's a bit risky giving Rashford 350k a week off one good season when the previous year had been terrible. But United's... They go all in, don't they? Laurie Whitwell has said that Man United were informed that Rashford was out in Belfast on Wednesday night. However, he also attended a nightclub the following evening, hours before training. So, I mean, that's interesting. I'm reading that for the first time. So he was out on Wednesday night, but he also attended a nightclub the following evening, hours before training. I don't know what the photos relate to. Were they, you know, the footage and the photos we saw last night, were they the ones from Thursday night? To be fair, there was somebody on Twitter who said he's in the same clothes in the club as he was in on Thursday day. But look, as I said, there's not a lot of wiggle room here. And I said last night, if it gets proved he was out on Thursday night, I won't start denying it or defending it. And when The Athletic and Laurie Whitwell are saying he was out on Thursday night, he was out on Thursday night. Because if he wasn't, then they wouldn't put it out there. They just wouldn't put it out there. It's as simple as that. And, you know, there's a lot of people in the chat saying, is this arguably worse than what Jadon Sancho did? I mean, Jadon Sancho was late for training. All right, the tweet was, you know, you're going to look at that in different ways. But You know, Manchester United have had 2 weeks off. Let's not forget, we haven't played since Spurs for 2 weeks. Players have been to Dubai. Players have been to, you know, back home. And Marcus Rashford's had 2 weeks off. And then the night before being back training, he's out in a nightclub in a different country. And the funny thing is, and I say it funny in the loosest sense of terms, is I was told 3 days ago that over this mini break, Rashford's been in the gym working really, really hard. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You know, he's working hard, doing fitness and conditioning work, but then goes out in a nightclub the night before training in a different country. It's just weird. It's really, really weird. Give Erik ten Hag 18 months to get the club in order and move on. We must. Rashford has become a big for the club. Sell him. Well, how do you come back from this as well? You know, how do you come back from this? If he wasn't from Manchester, I think he'd be done. Not just for this, I think he'd be done. You know, Gary Neville, Roy Keane, Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes, all the ex-players protect Rashford. They do. They do, because they know him. That, you know, Nicky Butt said, I've known him since he was 8. I'm always going to protect him. He gets protected, and that's a good thing. My only issue with that is they don't protect other players who come into the club. But he's been protected. He's been looked after. And the thing about being protective is sometimes that protection damages them because you don't call them out for what you call other people out for. Maybe he should have been called out. Maybe he should have been called out sooner than this because the protection obviously hasn't done any good. I'll tell you for free. Gary Neville, Nicky Butt, Roy Keane, they can all protect Marcus Rashford from the from the pundit room. If they're in the dressing room with him, it'd be gone. They wouldn't put up with it. I speak to Ben Foster every week, and off camera, I'm fascinated by what it was like to be training every day with Man United, what it was like in the dressing room, etc. And he's told me countless times, you know, the senior players, the Ryan Giggs, the Gary Nevilles, etc. If you left a bib on the pitch after training, you'd be in the dressing room and they'd walk in and go, whose bib's this? And if it was your bib, lo and behold, you would get a bollocking in front of everybody and you'd never do it again. A bib left on the pitch, on the training pitch. You know, we've got people putting tweets out. We've got people turning up late for training. We've got people not turning up for training. We've gone soft. We've gone soft as a football club. And, you know, maybe some of these ex-players need to behave like they used to behave in the training room. You know, we need to call it out. We need to call it out. And whatever Rashford's future is or any other player's future is at Man United, it needs calling out and the standards need resetting. You know, this is not acceptable. It's been going on for years. And look, yeah, Rashford's the latest one. Sancho was there. Martial's had it. Pogba's had it. There's been a lot, you know, Di Maria's said, I don't like Manchester. It's been going on for fucking years. At the end of the day, it needs calling out. And look, one positive is, you know, over to you, Ineos. Over to you, Sir Jim. You know, if it was a year ago with the Glazers and Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold, I'd be like, nothing will happen. I sort of go, over to you, Ineos. I mean, you know, this is in a way, this is your first big test. Are you basically Glazer puppets, or are you actually here to make change? Because there's number one problem there. You've also got to deal with Greenwood, Sancho, and selling players in the summer. But what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this? Your highest paid player doing something like that. You know, you're happy to get rid of Varane and Casemiro because they're on big wages. Well, here's a guy on big wages, not even turning up for fucking training. Like, you know, over to you then. What are you going to do? Are you going to do anything about it? Or are you just going to go, well, we can't do anything about that. You know, he's on a massive contract on big wages. We can't do anything about that. It's a big test. Big test. I mean, what would I do? Because a lot of people are saying, I know what a lot of you would do. What would I do? You know, first of all, I'd want to understand. I want to understand what this is about. I want to understand why you're in a nightclub in Belfast the night before you're meant to be training. You're clearly not going to be training. Who gave you permission? Did you phone? Because, you know, maybe he's phoned Ten Hag up and Ten Hag said, go and have a Guinness. You know, I need to understand this. I need to understand this because yesterday, I and many other people were being told that Manchester United thought he was out on Wednesday night, and that's what they believed. 24 hours later, he's out on Thursday night. So you've mugged Man United off. You've mugged some United fans off. Why were you doing it? Why were you there? Why were you doing it? And are you thick? Because I don't think you are thick. You know, you've had awards from the Queen. You've written books. You're not thick. Nobody in your position gets to where they are and what you've done with your life so far to be thick. So when you've gone out that night into a Belfast nightclub, you know you're getting photographed. Have you done it on purpose because you're rebelling? What is this all about? And that's the first thing. Runa says, I don't always agree with you. Sorry, I'm going to read some of these chats. He's not fighting ability to be a winner. Get him out, says Kara. Jordan's gifted a membership. What if he's been told he won't be in the squad on the weekend? Take a couple of days off, says Tam. Well, again, you know, this is why you've got to be very, very careful about jumping off the deep end without the evidence. But the reason I think we can't take that is that yesterday, United, we read it in the Daily Mail, and it was out there, I had it told to me as well, was that United believed he was out on Wednesday night. If United had given him 2 days off, they'd put it out there. Makes me think of Ronaldo's January transfer. We know it's not happening, but it would be quite a statement by Ineos, and rightfully so, says Jason. Give Eric Ten Hag, we've done that one. And Martin Saunders says, I like Rashford, but I think he believes he's bigger than the club, and no player is bigger than Man United, Sir Alex Ferguson always said. Don't always agree with you, Mark, says Runner, but you don't need to justify your position last night to people. It's simple. You were waiting for evidence. Anyone who doesn't understand that can't be helped. Thanks, Runner. The way you went out without Ten Hag's permission, I have a bad feeling that Ten Hag will fall on his Rashford sword since the day of his first interview, says Dan John. What's with high wage earners at our club? Messed up mentality, says Mojo. Well, money can do, you know, I've got a lot of other things to talk about, but money can do bad things to players. You know, money can do bad things to footballers. Money can do bad things to people. Funnily enough, I was talking to Ben Foster about this off camera last Monday, and we were talking about Chelsea. And I was saying, I think Chelsea could get better. And he said, I don't know. And I was like, why? And he said, because Chelsea bought a load of players that they don't really know anything about. They've given them 7-year contracts, and they've given them massive wages. And he said, I've been in the dressing room with players, right? Some players, the money doesn't massively matter to them. They just want to play football. Some players, they get the lifestyle, they get the money, and football becomes a hobby. You know, they're rich. They've got a 7-year contract on 150 grand a week. They're set for life. The fire goes out. They're just living the lifestyle. So most of the people watching this show are watching this show because you're passionate. It's a Saturday night at 8 o'clock, 8:45. You know, you're not got a movie on. You haven't got a takeaway. You're not out with your mates. You're watching this because you're passionate. You love the community and you love the football club. It's pure passion. Not everybody's like that. Some people will just watch Man United tomorrow and won't watch them again until Thursday. You know, and that's what sort of Ben Foster was saying to me. It's like, the money can make the fire go out. You get that massive money, you don't need to worry about money anymore. You know, not everybody's the same as you, is what he was saying. Is like, some people will get 200 grand a week and that's it. The foot goes off the pedal until the next contract. So, you know, just to answer that question about Mojo, what is it with high earners at this club? Messed up mentality. Obviously, we've given big wages to players that when they get big wages and they're set for life, the fire goes out. It goes back to mentality. We're recruiting the wrong players. Olise wants United transfer. As I said at the start, he wants to come to Man United over Chelsea. Apparently, there's a clip of him where he scored against United last season and didn't celebrate. He scored against City and he went mad. If he's got the right mentality and he comes into Man United and you don't give him a stupid wage, he could be a really good signing. If he hasn't got the right mentality and give him a stupid wage, it could be just another bloody Di Maria. So mentality is absolutely huge at United. And we know we've been making this mistake for years. Connor said, I sent a super chat, said last night Rashi was in Belfast. Glad we got the confirmation by credible sources. Mates FC, says Connor. How is this not a breach of contract, says Juan. Andy says he needs to go. It's time to crack down on spoilt brats and leeches in the club, given too much time for change. I love the show, mate, says Andy. And Angel says, look, if Rashford's playing well, let him go and party in Vegas for all I care. The problem is he's crap and acts like he doesn't care. Dan B says, could he be forcing his way out? well, I suppose we just have to wait and see. But look, for those tuning in a little bit late, please do smash a like on the video and get your comments in. There's a lot coming in. Jordan's gifted 5 memberships. What a legend. All after he got involved in politics, says Keel. Salary cap is what is maybe needed, says Akash. So, look, after a very passionate defence of Marcus Rashford last night by me and some others, I'm going to do the poll now. I defended him because of lack of evidence. And I've seen too many people in my life be witch hunted on lack of evidence because people don't like them, and it's not fair. I've had it happen to me on social media before. You know, people put a lie out about you and they believe it because they don't like you. So, you know, I will keep doing that. That's my motto. You can do what you want, but I won't jump on somebody unless I know the evidence, because I don't think it's fair. I remember a few years ago, actually, there was somebody who was a YouTuber that I don't particularly like, and somebody took a clip of them where it made them sound like they'd said something racist, and I got sent the clip and they were like, oh, retweet it, you can bury them. And I looked at the clip and I went, look, I don't like this person, but he's not saying what people think he's saying. It's the accent of where he's from. He's not saying that. I won't do it. I won't do somebody's legs on a rumour. You know, you need to follow the evidence. And last night, hands up, everybody I was speaking to was telling me, we think it's Wednesday night. That's what we've been told. That's what we believe. It's Wednesday night. When Laurie Whitwell comes out and says it's Thursday night, I'm out. I ain't living on that story from yesterday anymore. You know, all those people who said that obviously believed it. You know, forget it. It's Thursday night. You know, I'll follow the evidence. The evidence, it's Thursday night. There's no way Laurie Whitwell's putting that out. It's not. His job's gone. He won't be in a press conference again. He'll never get an interview with Marcus Rashford now, if he gets that wrong. He's got to be right. And you know, Laurie Whitwell will probably get an interview with Rashford. People say he'll never get an interview with Rashford. Of course he bloody will. Rashford's going to have to come out and apologise profusely. He can't hate on Laurie Whitwell. Laurie Whitwell's telling the fucking truth. You know, so he wouldn't put it out there if it wasn't true. He's out there on a Thursday night. We've got training on a Friday morning. There are no flights from Belfast to Manchester in the early hours. It doesn't work like that. And even if it was, you're telling me he's going to train. It's baffling. It's absolutely baffling. We've got a poll, would you sell Rashford? Because that's what people were asking for last night. But look, my overarching feeling, if I'm being honest, is that I'm absolutely tired of the toxicity and the drama around this football club. You know, there was a time when I did the United Stand where, you know, the Van Gaal days, the Mourinho days, the Ollie days, where bad results had happened, leaks had come out the dressing room, and I'd be revved up and I'd go, fucking hell, what's going on? Oh my God. But I've said it to you a few times over the last couple of years. If you've got any level of intelligence, and you certainly do, you can't keep ranting and raving about consistent events. You can't keep ranting and raving about reality. You know, the consistent theme at United is this. No other club has the drama. We've had a player not play for 3 months who's on 350k a week. We've had a player that we're trying to get rid of who's now having an operation and out for 10 weeks, and we can't buy a striker in January. We've got our best paid player who's clubbing the night before he should be training. You know, we had Ronaldo doing a Piers Morgan interview. No other club attaches this toxicity. It's incredible. And nothing surprises me about this football club at the moment. And I feel sorry for so many people who work at Man United who are good people. I feel sorry for so many players at Man United who are good people. You know, slag him off for not being good enough, but Scott McTominay would never do this. He just wouldn't do it. He's just not good enough to play for Man United. But the reality is he would never do it. You know, his heart's in the right place, his effort is there, but he would never do it. It's bewilderingly depressing how toxic that football club has become. And nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing surprises me anymore. And Shahin says you can't blame Ten Hag for this. He's the only manager who allows players to go home the night before the match day. Every other coach kept them in a hotel. He gives players too much freedom. But this isn't a match day, Shahin. We're not playing till Sunday. This is the night before training. You know, what should he do? You know, build a prison in Carrington and you're not allowed out. You can have your missus round for a hand job. Like, these are professional footballers who earn more money than Erik ten Hag. Like, the power at Man United is incredible. And you can't stop. Look, it's not my place to say this, but Man United players go to nightclubs on the weekend. And anyone who's in Manchester knows it. And some people in Manchester might go in the club where they take your phone off you. It's well known. I know stories. A lot of people know stories. And trust me, I wouldn't put them out there because it'd be damaging. But it's not unusual. And you know, look at some of the stories of certain Man City players. Look at the hotel story about Newcastle players. Let's not pretend it's only Man United players that go out. Like, it goes on. London clubs, Newcastle, Manchester City, Man United. There are players who go out and do it. But we're not winning. You know, Newcastle overachieved last year. Man City have won a treble. Arsenal are in a title race and they're in the Champions League. Spurs are doing really, really well. The problem with United is they go to a nightclub, but they're not winning on the weekend. I mean, I remember Paul Ince saying to me, and it's a different world. You can't do this anymore. But I remember Paul Ince saying to me on a video, you know, we'd go out on a Wednesday night after a game and we'd be drinking until the early hours. And if Sir Alex knew, we'd be in deep shit. But we had a mentality amongst us that we'd play hard and we'd drink hard. And if we went out and had a few drinks on a Wednesday night, we'd have those drinks on the promise amongst us that we'd go and win on a Saturday. It could never be something that was damaging the way we were going to play. But that's a different world. You can't drink like that anymore. Wenger brought that in. You just can't do it. Jordan's gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much, Jordan. Question, will Ineos accept Olise to be submitted to Erik ten Hag's salary cap policy, says Abaduran. And look, you know, Martin Saunders gifted some memberships as well. I'd sell Rashford. Yes, good on his day, but his day is too inconsistent, says Ray. Cannot rely on players like this if we want to move forward. You know, I think the big thing is Marcus Rashford can do what the hell he likes in training if he's performing on the pitch. I mean, look, again, very long time ago, George Best used to like a drink. He was a bloody good player. But, you know, Mojo's just gifted 50 memberships. Can we just say win to Mojo? That's absolutely fantastic. But it's another big story, isn't it? It's a story now that will take over the next few days. On Olise, look, somebody said to me before the show, I've heard some news that Man United are going to sign Amadou Onana from Everton, and it's, you know, it's big exclusive news. And I said, but Sam, who works on our Twitter, announced that 2 months ago. Man United have been scouting Onana of Everton for about a year. Man United are scouting Olise. Man United are scouting Branthwaite. Man United are scouting De Ligt. Man United are scouting Todibo. Man United are scouting about 100 players at the moment, like maybe even more. We're not buying anybody because we don't have a director of football. We're not in negotiations with Everton for Branthwaite or Onana because we don't have a director of football. We don't know who our manager is going to be in the summer. Like, we are scouting people and we will be expressing interest and letting people know that we're interested. That's how football works. You know, if you played Football Manager or FIFA and you put a player onto your shortlist, then when they're on that shortlist, the computer game will tell you, do you want to do anything about it? Because Arsenal have made an offer. That doesn't come from some computer program in Canada. That comes from reality. You know, United will let it be known that they're scouting certain players, and clubs will know that we're scouting certain players. And when they get bids from other clubs, they will let us know that they've had bids from other clubs. That's how it works. But we're not about to sign Onana from Everton. We're not about to sign Olise from Crystal Palace. And we're not about to sign Xerxes from Bologna. These are players that we're scouting, and they're on a shortlist. But that shortlist will be very, very big. And also, the players that we do buy in the summer might not even be on the shortlist yet, because the director of football could come in and go, we need somebody else. But look, I've done the poll. People wanted it last night. I said, let's wait for the evidence. The evidence is there. He was out on a Thursday night, the night before training. I can't think of an excuse for it. I hope there is one, but I can't think of one. I think we're going to end up with a big, massive public apology again. And some people will accept it. Some people will say enough is enough. That's going to be down to personal choice. As I've said before, it's very, very clear to everybody that in this fan base, there are those that have had enough of Rashford and there are those that will back Rashford. And I presume that'll be the same after the apology. But I think, as I said, over to you, Ineos. This is your first big decision? Are you going to make the big call that you're going to stick with Rashford and he's going to be the name of the project? Or are you going to go, actually, PSG will take him for 80 million quid and we'll move on? And I find myself in the position I was probably 18 months ago before Ten Hag came in. And I just look at Rashford's body language over the last 8 months. And I fully expect him to start scoring goals again. But the problem is, if he does start scoring goals again, I already know he can do that for 8 months. But then I know he can fall off for 8 months. You know, is it getting to the point where the player himself would be better off with a fresh start? You say sell him, you say kick him out the football club, but at what point does the player go, this is not healthy for me? This is not a good environment for me. Yes, I'm Manc born and bred. Yes, I've been here since I was a kid. But is it time to move on? You know, is it time to try something new? Because it just doesn't seem to be working. And Man United's too big a club for somebody to run it as a player. Like, we can't be run by player power. Ronaldo figured that out last year. You know, you can't run Man United as a player. So, you know, maybe it is time. Maybe it is time. But Thando says you shouldn't call it a membership. You should call it a mojo. We can't get angry at Erik Ten Hag's team selection anymore. McTominay is bad, but maybe he was the only option that plays for him. Give him time, says Hat. Alexander, welcome to the Members Club. Mark, I think Rashford played good last season to get this big contract. It's all a plan, says Chris. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I'd be devastated by that. I mean, surely a player that's been here since he was 8 years of age isn't going to use United and just try for a year and then sit on his arse. I just don't believe that. Just wanted to commend you and your crew on your professionalism. So many copy and paste channels out there piggybacking off what you've built, says Sean C. Thank you very much, Sean. You know, there's a lot of echo out there, isn't there? But, you know, it's like anything, isn't it? You know, you can buy Coca-Cola from the shop or you can see every other brand with a brand of Coca-Cola, can't you? Rash is just a slightly more consistent Pogba. He's injury prone. He's up and down on the pitch. He brings drama, but only gets media scrutiny. I wonder why, says Nick J. Look, I've got to say, if you said to me right here, right now, in the summer, Rashford goes, Casemiro goes, Varane goes, Maguire goes, Wan-Bissaka goes, McTominay goes, Sancho goes, then I'd probably go, if they're all, you know, there's some I'd like to keep, but if all of those go, for different reasons, you've just cleared a massive wage bill and it's a proper reset. If you only get rid of Casemiro, Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, but you keep Varane, Rashford and Sancho, well, I don't really get why 3 have gone and 3 stay. I think, you know, as I said, over to Ineos, they're going to make the decisions. And if they make the wrong decisions, they'll be called Glazer puppets. You know, they will. That's what will happen. I think they've got a real opportunity to go, we're in charge. Nobody's bigger than the club. We've listened to the fans. We've looked at the evidence. And look, we're hitting reset. We're not pissing about anymore. We're not going to give players more time. We're not going to pay people big wages when they can't be part of this project. We're going to move them on. I mean, look, if you want Rashford to go, what I will say is Casemiro won't be hard to shift. Maguire won't be hard to shift. Varane won't be hard to shift. Rashford won't be hard to shift. Wan-Bissaka won't be hard to shift. Sancho might be difficult to shift. I mean, I don't know whether people will give us anywhere near what we want, but Marcus Rashford's a homegrown player. You'll get 80 million quid from PSG straight away. 80 million straight in your bank. You know, no messing about. He's not a player that's on a big wage that you can't shift. So it's not about whether we can sell Rashford. We could do it like that. It's whether Ineos are brave enough to do that. And it is brave. I'm not saying it's something I would do, but it is brave. And I don't think they would be brave enough to do that. I don't think it fits in with what they want to do. You know, it's a homegrown player. I don't think they want to do it. Nick J's just gifted 10 memberships. Thank you very much, Nick. Lazy, overrated and overpaid. Rashford needs to be sold now and dropped until he's gone. Absolute disgrace of a player. The trouble is, Wayne, you can't do that. You know, it's the end of January. If we play in the FA Cup final, that's the end of May. I mean, we can be angry. you can be angry, but that's not going to happen. You know, we can't do that, surely. I'm just watching the Cameroon game. Arnana is all over the place, letting a shocker. We bought a donkey. You're not, Lee, because he's not in goal. I don't know what you're watching. I don't know what you've had to drink, but Arnana's not even in goal. Hoyland used his Wednesday night having dinner with his missus. Rashford goes clubbing. That's a difference in dedication and respect, says Kane. Come on. Come on, though. Let's be fair to Rashford there. Rasmus has got a girlfriend. I don't know whether Rashford has. You know, what do you want him to do? Stay at home playing the AFC? Just want to thank you very much for that. 86% of you would sell Rashford. I mean, look, there's still 14% who wouldn't. You know, that's the democracy for you. There's still 14% who wouldn't. Courtney, with probably the most level-headed comment of the night. Not even a member. You'd expect this from a member. But Courtney Hamilton says, it's not personal. Cash out before he loses value. It's business. He's still a good player. Whether he has it or what it takes to be world-class is a different conversation. And you know what? Sometimes you've got to take out the emotion. Courtney's absolutely correct. If this ain't going to get any better, then you may as well cash out. You may as well cash out because it makes no sense to just, you know, there's a viable thing there. Apparently, Xavi's leaving Barcelona as well. Xavi's doing a Klopp. He's leaving Barcelona. I tell you what, that you know, I know that's completely nothing to do with Manchester United. I just hope we get back to the top one day, says Spiller. But the managerial market is looking like being some sort of it's going to be like Tinder. Swipe left, swipe right. You know, it's amazing. Xavi's going to leave at the end of the season. Liverpool fans will be fucking fuming if Klopp goes to Barcelona without having a break. He can't do that. He can do that. He can't do that. He could do that. But where do Barcelona go for their next manager? Interesting, isn't it? Are they going to go for Xavi Alonso? Is that why they've done it? You know, would Xavi Alonso play for Barcelona? He played for Real Madrid, didn't he? Well, Vigo did as well. Yeah, well, that's somebody else's problem, but surely Klopp wouldn't go to Barcelona after Liverpool. I mean, that job's going to be even more stressful. But, you know, manager merry-go-round, says Paul. I'll probably do it on the morning show. There's a few bits I wanted to talk about on the morning show around the manager, and I suppose that will fit in nicely. What's wrong with Hannibal Mabry, says Jin. Oh, we'll talk about that on the morning show as well. But there's always, in relation to Mabry, and this is completely and utterly rumour, so take it as 50-50, but there's always been rumours that Mabry's got a bad temperament. Some say bad attitude. I prefer to say bad temperament. We have seen glimpses of that. We saw it when he came on against Liverpool last season. We saw it against Burnley this season. He is a bit hot-headed. He's got into a few issues on the training ground with United, and he's gone and done it at Sevilla in a week. So he's always had that. That can be taken out of a player, of course it can, but it's a shame because I think that was a great opportunity for him at Sevilla. Abdi says, what if Rashford wants to go? He's Eric Ten Hag's favourite. He's got a good salary. If he goes, it'll be because of a new contract negotiation issue, maybe, says Abdi. Maybe. Silka says, if Klopp's ran out of energy with Liverpool, he'll be on the floor at Barcelona. Well, look, you know, we've got enough on our plate talking about this amazing news tonight, but I think that when you look at it, there will be those of you who want Ten Hag to go. He'll be thinking, well, Liverpool wants a manager, and Barcelona are now going to be looking for a manager. Both of those clubs are going to be in the race for decent managers. You know, people will start saying, well, we should sack Ten Hag. Let's sack Ten Hag because we can get a new manager in. And I think that, you know, when it comes down to it, yes, you could do that if you wanted to, but we'll still be third in the queue. You know, I saw, funnily enough, it was in The Athletic again. I saw Adam Crafton talking about this the other day, yesterday. And he was like, with Liverpool getting rid of Klopp, does that not mean that Manchester United should be getting rid of Ten Hag because, you know, to get ahead of Liverpool looking for a new manager? And I thought, well, yeah, that is very interesting, but we're not going to get ahead of Liverpool, are we? Because we're in London, aren't we? But we're not. Because if for me, that would be even more of a reason to keep Ten Hag, because if we sack Ten Hag and we want manager A, but Liverpool want him, I think he'll go to Liverpool, because Liverpool have got a better squad, a better setup, and they're in the Champions League. If we sack Ten Hag because Barcelona are looking for a manager, well, again, if Barcelona want a manager and we want him, I think he's going to go to Barcelona. So the more managers that are looking for the more clubs that are looking for managers in the summer, make me less happy to sack Ten Hag, because I don't think we're going to be anybody's number one. I think that, but look, as I've always said, I can't sit here and say, don't sack Ten Hag in January, and you can't sit here in January and say, well, you can, but you know, if we lose another 6 or 7 games, he'll have to be sacked, and then we'll have to find a solution. What I'm terrified of is Graham Potter. That's what terrifies me. I was told something a couple of months ago that Graham Potter would not take a job like Leeds or Crystal Palace because he wants another crack at the Champions League. And I'm like, based on what? Brighton have never played in the Champions League. Like, what about Graham Potter makes anybody think that he's a Champions League manager? When he was at Brighton, I thought he was the perfect manager to take the Villa job when they got rid of Gerrard. When he took the Chelsea job, I was like, what an experiment, and I'm glad it's not happening at my club. But I like Potter. I think he's a good coach, but I don't think he's a Man United coach. I don't think he's an Arsenal coach. I don't think he's a Liverpool coach. And that terrifies me, because what we do know is there are people that United are looking at that have a good relationship with Graham Potter, and that terrifies me. Graham Potter as a Man United manager absolutely terrifies me. Look, if that's what ends up happening, I'll back him. You know, I never wanted Moyes. I gave him a chance. I never wanted Fellaini. I gave him a week. But I will always give somebody a chance. United have never bought anybody that I've gone from day one, fuck off, don't want them. But I would be very worried about Potter, and I'd have to say that. I was worried, you know, I did the video when we bought Matic. I was worried about Matic. I did the video when we bought Lukaku, and I said, I'm worried about it. He's got no first touch. He's crap at build-up play. He's a good finisher, but, you know, there's a lot more you need to be as a striker at the highest level. I was worried about Lukaku when we bought him, and it was right. It was right. Maybe he needs to chill out every once in a while, and almost 90% want to sell Rashford. He's lost the fan base, and I don't see him staying any longer, says Jack. You can always win the fan base back by scoring goals, but a lot of people have made their mind up, I agree, at the moment. Great show, Mark. Love the content, says Michael. Joseph, thank you very much. Does Rashford want to... I've done that one. Look, one question that has been asked a lot, and I don't dodge questions, was, what would you do with Rashford, Mark? And my honest answer is this. No decision can be made on January the 27th. And when I was a manager... I'm not talking about Football Manager, but when I was a manager in finance and other jobs that I've done, I was the sort of manager that if I have to make a quick decision, you go. You know, I'm not afraid to make it. And, you know, anyone who's managed in the chat will have their own style, and this will resonate. And anybody that wants to manage, you can speculate on how you would manage, of course. So, you know, you'd sell Rashford. That's your speculation on what you would do. But I've been in positions where, as the first on the scene, you've got to make a decision. If you wait, you lose. So you make a decision, and you trust on your personality and your experience and your morals. But if I don't have to make a decision there and then, I don't make it, because there are things not every decision has to be made now. You know, am I going to have chicken tomorrow for my lunch, or am I going to have beef? Well, I'll go down to the shop in the morning and I'll decide. I'll think about it. So not every decision has to be made now. The urgency to make a decision now is because people are emotional, and I understand that. But when you look at the Rashford situation, more information is going to come out. Hopefully an explanation is going to come out, because I think Manchester United fans deserve it. Why are you out in a nightclub in Belfast the night before you're meant to be at training? It's disrespectful. Why are you doing that? Man United are not in the wrong here. Ten Hag is not in the wrong here. You are not in the wrong here. If you defended him last night or you didn't defend him, none of us are in the wrong because Marcus Rashford's in the wrong. Why? We need to know why first. And when we find out why, we'll have more information. But for me, when people say, well, what would you do? If it was May the 31st, I'd tell you what I'd do right now. I'd be looking to sell because it's the summer. PSG will buy him. I'd probably do it, right? But on January the 27th, I'm not selling him because I'm not selling him in the January transfer window. That's not going to happen. And I need him. I need to use him. I have to use him. He's got to play for me. I have to use him. We're in a crap position in the league. I still want to win the FA Cup. I still want to climb the league. And I'm going to have to use him. Like, I've got Rasmus Højlund. I've got Anthony. I've got Garnacho. And I've got Ahmad. That's it. I've got to use Marcus Rashford. So my thing is, yeah, it's really frustrating and things are going to happen over the next few days. Of course they are. But the decision to sell him will not be made until May. So I've got to find a way through this to utilise this player that I need to use over the next few months. But I'm not going to pretend that it's a difficult situation because the thing, as if I'm Erik ten Hag, that's really nagging at me is I've just had a player not play for me for 3 months. And it really started because he turned up late for training. Yeah, the Twitter thing wasn't good, but it all comes from the fact that he didn't turn up for training on time. I've now got my star player who's not even turned up for training because he's in a nightclub in a different country the night before. I look really weak if I don't deal with this in a very strict way. I think this will be scrutinised. I love to know the reason not to sell him from the 14%, says Richard. Joseph says, Rashford thrives in a stable team like last year. Any manager will face problem with these types of players and structural issue. Can we correctly judge Ten Hag, says Shivam? I don't think we can at the moment. And it's worth looking at the comments about Olise's attitude at Reading. He could be another Sancho, says Duncania. Well, I don't know anything about Olise in that sense. So all I'll say is, looks like a good player. 22, Premier League proven. But yeah, we've got to start looking at the attitude of these players. Of course we have. We can't just keep buying players on ability because you end up in the situation we've been for the last 10 years. We've got to be better than that. Of course we have to be better than that. Xavi's leaving Barcelona, says Michael. Yes, he is. Right, I'm going to go and watch a film. It's Saturday night, and I feel like I just need to go and chill out a little bit. It's been I was expecting a chilled out Saturday night show, and lo and behold, it hasn't been. But welcome to the world of the United Stand and Manchester United. This is what we do, isn't it? This is what happens. We've got a match tomorrow as well. Looking forward to that. I will see you in the morning for the 10 o'clock show, where I'm sure there'll be some more detail coming out around this. And obviously we've got a match watch along for you tomorrow as well. Take care, everyone. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner, smash a like on the video, and stay safe and enjoy whatever you're going to do for the rest of the evening. Legends, I'll speak to you all in a bit.